What is up guys, Alex from Lakey Wargames here and welcome to today's video. I just wanted to say in advance that today is more of a discussion slash rant video and thus there's nothing really to watch on the screen, so if you're hobbying away, crack on doing that. This is just one to listen to. But I just want to have a little discussion today that as Wargamers, are we complaining too much? Are we growing too lazy to make change within our game? Let's have a little talk about it. Alrighty guys, so before we get into the real meat and potatoes of the video, what do I mean by complaining too much or being too lazy to make changes? Because as a community we do some fantastic things, outside of the big corporate companies that, run parts of the hobby and that we buy things from, etc, etc, whether that be Games Workshop or any other company. The community is very much not lazy in the fact that we come up with all kinds of things, events are run, people come up with fantastic ideas, just things that would absolutely blow your mind. So what I mean is in the regards of in-game on the tabletop, are we becoming a bit lazy? We've always known that there's power creep in-game, especially Games Workshop systems. It's mainly what I'll be talking about because it's mainly what I play, it's mainly what I know. There's always been power creep. Every new codex has got some shiny new toys, shiny new rules. It's always a little bit stronger than what came before it, and that's just because Games Workshop's business model is as a miniatures company, not a games company. So they make things slightly stronger because it looks cool, so it's strong, people want to buy it because it's a great model and it works well on the tabletop. The next thing that comes out, slightly stronger than that, slightly stronger than that, so on and so forth, and certain things are at the back of this pile to the point where the newest thing to come out versus the oldest thing that's available is quite a significant change of power. That's just how it's always been. As a result though, and this may be a cause of just the modern era, the way that the world works, there's a lot more available on YouTube, things like Reddit subforums, things that you think back 10-15 years ago weren't that exciting or popular, and people didn't voice that much of an opinion online, people didn't listen to it all, people didn't hone in on the statistics as much, it wasn't this mathematically is the game breaker and so on and so forth. A lot more people sharing a lot more ideas, there's a lot more input. It might just be the modern day and age that we live in, but to me it feels like that when something new comes out, everyone just has like a negative impact on it. They're like, this is great, this is strong, the models look cool, and then it turns into someone figures out combo XYZ and it's, oh my god, this is broken, it's unfair, it's too powerful. And the reason I wanted to make this video and ask this question of do we complain too much is has there been like a mentality shift within us as wargamers in the community, is because I was going to make a video about the Leagues of Votann situation, which if you guys aren't up to date, although you've probably already heard because it's everywhere, is that Games Workshop in the mid to late 90s had squats, like little space dwarfs in 40k. They got taken out, I think it was the tail end of like 3rd edition. It was before my time. I started 4th edition and that was like my pre-teens era for me. So squats were way before I was a thing, but I'd always heard about them. People wanted squats backs for years. The Leagues of Votann are basically what people wanted. They're what they've been asking for forever. Games Workshop brought them out. They're the newest 40k faction, and they're not even out fully yet. It's purely just an army box set with some models. It's got a couple of characters, some warriors, and some dudes on jet bikes. It comes with like the codex, all the tokens, that good stuff. People get their hands on the codex. The codex has got the rules for everything that's going to be coming in future, and as soon as it hit the internet it was everywhere. This is the most broken book ever made, etc, etc. I had to do some digging because I dropped out of 40k about 6th, 7th edition, so I wasn't really up to date on all the new rules, how things work, just how powerful this book was. So I did a little reading into it just to see, because I did used to play 40k through 4th, 5th, 6th and tail end of 7th edition, just to refresh my brain, see how powerful this really is, because it happens in other systems too. Like I said at the start, there are things as they come out. Games Workshop want to sell models, so they make the rules slightly stronger. Some things are way stronger when on release than others, and then they get nerfed down. It's just like video games. I played Smite competitively for a few years, and it's the same thing. When a new character comes out or a new item comes out, they start them strong, then they get the feedback off of them being strong, and then they tone them down. And from a gamer's point of view, from a designer's point of view, it's often said that it's easier to make something overpowered and tone it down than it is to have it underpowered and bring it up, because when you release something that's underpowered, no one wants to use it, because they just look at it and go, that's rubbish, I'm not buying it, I'm not playing it, I'm not using it. As a NIGHTHAUNT player myself, you look at Glaive Stalkers, I've never seen anyone use them. Never. They look cool, everyone likes the models, I've never seen anyone use them on the tabletop. So you're going to get no feedback off them because no one plays them. They just look at their rules and they go, not taking that, I'm going to take the other thing because the other thing's way better. Now, yes, this would be, ideal in an ideal world if everything was balanced and everything was perfect and, everything was created equally, so to say. But that's just not the case. It's just never been the case. Some models have their time in the sun and it all rolls round. Look at the new LUMINETH book that came out. Wind, Spirit and Range, and Range was all the rage. Last book, the foxes were just amazing, and now with the previews of the new book, everyone's like, throw all the wind stuff in the bin, it's all about Aralath, it's all about the stone stuff. And that's probably partly on Games Workshop's part of the stone stuff wasn't as powerful, so it probably didn't sell as well. Now the stone stuff's going to sell amazing because everyone wants the stone stuff. But it's when it crosses that line. So with the Leagues of Votann, after doing the research, yes, they are very, very strong. They are very powerful. And the outcry online was so strong that it forced Games Workshop about 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks later, to make a change to the codex, change the rules, change the points, change the way some of the system worked before the range is even released. Like, no one's played it in a tournament yet. No one's got their hands on all the models. It was just, online, it was just statistics. It was like, on average, this is going to do this much damage, blah, blah, blah. Like, people haven't physically piloted the entire army in a full setting over a little range of time to even get some real feedback. It's just all statistical. It's all, in their head, how it's going to play out. Yeah, you probably sat in your front room, rolled some dice, whatever. But like the outcry and the whinge level was just something else. And to me it's like, when did we get to this point? It's great, like feedback is great, obviously that's how we move forward. Something comes out, you take the positives, you take the negatives, you improve on the thing. That's great, that's how we go forward. But like, it just feels like there's almost the amount of negativity versus positivity when it comes to tabletop wargaming these days is just so far switched around that it's just, when did this happen? As a example for me, in my local meta when I was younger, I started collecting Space Marines because that's what I saw, when I was a lot younger. And I was like, wow, it's like they're so cool, giant armored superhumans that just, blow stuff up. I want them. And I think everyone's probably done that at some point and collected Space Marines. And if you haven't collected Space Marines, you're probably in a very small percentage of people, and I applaud you for that willpower. But yeah, going back on track, so I played Space Marines, and my best friend who got me into the game at the time played Imperial Guard. Now, I just liked, I liked the troops. I wasn't very much big on tanks or anything like that. I wasn't competitive, I wasn't getting into it with the mindset of I must have the most bent rules and the most strongest things to, counterplay all that. I was just like, these models are cool, brought them, whatever. My friend played Imperial Guard, he had loads of big tanks, loads of big artillery, stuff with really low AP value, so he could just blow Space Marines out of the water, giving me no armor save, all that kind of stuff. And I got trounced over and over and over and over again. And that was like my introduction. That was my friend, the guy who lived down the road, guy I played like every other day. And back then it didn't even cross my mind to be like, oh my god, Imperial Guard are broken, like that shouldn't be allowed. It just took out an entire tactical squad with that ply plate. Like, he killed like 15 Marines with one tank shot. And I feel like if something like that happened today, everyone would be like, oh my god, this is so broken, it shouldn't be allowed to do that, blah 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 blah. But like, to me back then it was just like, oh, okay, right, that happened, next time I'll know, I won't put those guys there, try not to get shot by this, I went down Games Workshop. I was only like 14, 15 at the time, probably, like when I started to play more and like that kind of thing. Like I got into it a lot younger, but by the time I had a fully functional army, played regularly, it was probably about 14, 15. And I just go into Games Workshop and be like, hey, my friend plays Imperial Guard, he shoots my Marines off the table all the time. What do I need? Like, you know, what shall I do? Blah blah blah. A little bit of advice. Look into my book and I'm like, right, cool, tactics sort of thing. Talk to people that know. Spinning ideas with guys down the shop. I'm like, right, you know, he's got lots of tanks. He's got lots of low AP stuff. Like, how can I change what I'm doing tactically? Army list building, playing to the mission, all that kind of stuff. Like, what can I do with the models in my collection, plus like 1 or 2 additions, because I don't have the kind of money or resources at that age to just go out and be like, oh, I need 12 Land Raiders, you know. Not like that would fit in a list, but that's just how it was. It was like taking what you had in the situation you were given, and rather than just complaining about it and how unfair it was and losing all the time, it was just like, how do I change the situation? And just working with it, working with the book. Now I get that, like I said, stuff that's really high end at the top, like the newest of the new versus the lowest of the low, that needs looking after. Yes, there is a big gap, and sometimes it's very statistically unlikely. You know, sometimes certain things aren't going to beat a Grot versus Marneus Calgar in combat. It's probably always going to go Marneus's way. That's just how it goes. But there is, you know, there's situations of why is that Grot in a one-on-one combat with Marneus Calgar in the first place? You know, just you've probably done something wrong building up to that to make that situation. That's why it's getting smushed. But yeah, with the whole Leagues of Votann coming out, I used to see it a lot in Age of Sigmar. Not so much now. Like, I think Age of Sigmar 3rd edition is probably in the best place it's ever been in terms of book balance and like internal balance of the books and having more spread out units. Yes, there are strong combos. That's what the game's about. It's about using X hero with Y unit to get Z result. You know, cast this spell and shoot that thing at the same time, as well as using this ability. Like, power combination is part of the game. Every book's got it. Some armies excel in combat, some excel in shooting, some excel in magic. Your army might be susceptible to magic, but really good at combat. And that's just, you know, it's part of the way it goes. It doesn't mean magic armies are broken, because, you know, you just have to find that counter to it within your own book. But I feel like a lot of the days people can't be bothered to go through that thing of, yeah, okay, I need to get my butt kicked like 10 times by that army, and then I figure it out. It just goes straight online, complain, no, it beats me, it's broken, don't like it, blah blah blah. And I feel like that's become a lot more common within, you know, the wargaming community these days. And I don't know if you guys feel the same, and that's just why I wanted to put it out there. Like, do we complain too much? Or are things really this unjust to cause this level of, you know, commotion, ripples in the water, so to speak? But yeah, you guys let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you soon. Happy wargaming.